In this video, we're going to go ahead and install the MySQL database server and workbench on a Linux computer. I'm using Ubuntu, but the basic steps will be the same for many other distros. If you're running Windows or a Mac, refer to the last two videos where I show how to do this on those operating systems. But if you're using Linux, you're in the right place, so let's continue. The first thing we want to do is go to the website dev.mysql.com. You may get a pop-up about accepting cookies, so do whatever you normally do when you get that pop-up. The download will work fine if you decide to decline all cookies. Okay, once we get here, I'm going to click the download link. Then I'm going to scroll down and click MySQL Community GPL Downloads. The recommended way to install MySQL on Linux is to use your distro's package manager. The first three entries on this page lets you set up the appropriate repository for your distro. If you're using Fedora, for example, then you click the Yum repository link. There's also a repository for SUSE Linux, and the one I'll be using, an apt repository. Ubuntu uses apt, so that's the link I'll click. If your distro uses something different, you can click the MySQL Community Server link and download a generic tar archive. Okay, after choosing the apt repository, I'll download the deb package. Now it's asking whether we want to set up an Oracle web account because Oracle now own the MySQL product. If you already have an account, you can log in. We're going to click on No Thanks, just start my download and save the file. When the download has completed, open a terminal. You can use your distro's launcher or whatever method you normally use to start a terminal session. I saved the file in my Downloads folder, so I'll navigate to that folder and then use the command sudo dpkg I mysql apt config. I suggest using the tab key to complete the file name because the exact version number will probably be different by the time you install this. When I press tab, my file name is for version 0.8.26-1, but you may have a later version. Press enter to install this package and set up the appropriate repository for MySQL. We're using the sudo command, so you probably get prompted for your password unless you've used sudo very recently. I'll type my password in and press enter. On the next screen, we can choose which MySQL components we want to install. We're going to run everything on our development computer, so we can leave the default options. I'll move down to the fourth option with the arrow keys, selecting OK and press enter. When that finishes, run the command sudo apt update. As you can see, I'm being told there are two upgradable packages. These probably won't have anything to do with MySQL, but I'll type the following to check that. apt list ---- upgradable. As I suspected, these updates had nothing to do with MySQL, so I'll ignore those and push on and install MySQL server. And we've now got the repo set up to install MySQL. Sudo apt install MySQL-server. I'll press enter to proceed with the installation. I'll press enter to continue with the install. Let's fast forward this bit where it downloads and installs. Now it's asking for a root password. This is a password for MySQL itself, so choose a decent password. I'll talk more about root and MySQL later in this video. Make sure you remember this password because you'll need it later. I'll confirm the password here as well. Now we get to specify the authentication method. You shouldn't normally change this. We want strong password encryption that keeps our installation secure. If you've already written MySQL applications and they can't be updated, then you can specify the old style authentication here. But we're starting from scratch and don't have any existing applications to support. So we won't change anything here, just press enter. Once the installation finishes, the MySQL server should be started automatically. Check that with the command systemctl status MySQL. we should see the MySQL Community Server service is active, running. The next step is to install the Workbench. That's the program that we'll use to write our SQL queries and display the results. Once again, I'll use the apt package manager, use yum, or whatever your particular distro uses to install software. Sudo apt install MySQL -workbench -community. Enter your Linux password if prompted, press enter to proceed, and wait for the installation to finish. Alright, we've now got everything we need, so let's run the Workbench and check that it all works. You'll find MySQL Workbench in your usual launcher or via the application menus if that's what your distro provides. Rather than hunt for it, I'll start typing MySQL, then click the icon when it appears. I want to start by clicking on this local instance, so click on that. I'll enter the root MySQL password that I defined earlier in this video here, and I'm going to choose not to save it. You could choose to save the password if you like, but for security reasons I prefer not to do that. Click on OK, and this has opened up, which is a good sign that we got the password correct. If we come over here on the left and click on Server Status, that gives us a bit of an overview of our MySQL service. I'll expand the window so you can see everything. MySQL is running, as you can see here, so that's good. We can also see the number of connections and other statistics. But obviously, there won't be a lot happening at the moment, and that's because we haven't really started using it yet. But bear in mind that we have actually connected to the server because we've used MySQL Workbench to do that, in case you're wondering where the connections are coming from. Okay, come over here on the left and click on Users and Privileges. We can see the list of users, so you can see there that we had the root account, which was automatically created for us. You might see a few other users which are used internally by MySQL. If you don't see them, don't worry, sometimes the default settings are changed and these accounts don't show up. That's fine, they're not accounts that we need to do anything with, and it's best that we don't make any changes to them. We'll add another user from here by clicking the Add Account button at the bottom of the window. We're doing this because it's not a good idea to use the root user for day-to-day activities. The root user has complete control of the system, and we don't need that much power for normal use. So we're creating a new user for our normal database tasks. For the login name, I'll enter devuser. You can use any name you want, but if you use something different, remember that this will be the name you'll use later. Leave the authentication type set to standard. We're not going to allow access to our databases from other computers, so change the entry for limit to hosts matching and enter localhost there. That means this user will only be allowed to connect to MySQL from this computer. What that means is that the username and password can only be used on this machine that is running on localhost. So if for some reason there was a way for a hacker to get access to this database remotely, they wouldn't be able to use this username and password to access anything remotely. They have to actually be on your computer. Next, we need a password. Enter a strong password, then enter it again to confirm password. Make sure you remember this password. It's the one you'll use whenever you want to connect to MySQL throughout the course. After confirming the password, click Apply. The account that we'll be using most of the time is this devuser account. We want to be able to create new databases and perform all the other database-related tasks that we're going to learn about. That means we have to give this account the necessary access. Select devuser on the left, then click the Administrative Roles tab. You have full control over the level of access that you can grant to users, but it's often easier to use these roles that have already been created. For example, there's a user admin role that can create users, but can't alter databases, and there's a DB manager role that can manage databases, but doesn't have the access needed to create or modify users. We will want to perform all tasks, so click the top option, DBA, to make devuser a database administrator. By the way, the checkboxes look a little squashed because I have sized up the fonts for the video. They should look normal on your computer. we'll be able to perform all tasks when we log in as dev user. Click Apply to apply the change, otherwise the access rights won't be granted. OK, we've now created a new user. The next step is to use this user to create a new connection. Click on View on the menu, and from the View menu select Home. We go back to where we were. Now we're going to come over here and click on this little wrench to the right of the plus sign, which is for managing connections. That should open up this Manage Server Connection screen here, as you can see. I'm going to click on this local instance, and we're going to click the Test Connection button at the bottom right. If it wants a password, that root password, again, then type it in. And you can see that we've successfully made the MySQL connection. So that tells us that MySQL is working correctly and we're able to connect to the database. So that's OK. I'm going to click on OK. All right. Now let's click on the new button over on the left. This time we're going to add a new connection. We're going to add a new connection, which will be the one that we're going to be using in this course. For the connection name, I'm just going to call it Development, but you can call it literally whatever you like. Make sure the Connection tab is selected and we're going to change the username. Instead of root, we're going to change that to the username we created, which was dev-user. Close this screen, and we've now got this second connection configured under the MySQL connections. At this point, I'll click that newly created connection again, enter the password for the MySQL dev-user account and click OK. We connected successfully and can now proceed. I'm going to finish the video here. Now we're actually done. In the next video, now that we've got this installed, we'll have a bit more of a play around with the MySQL workbench. So I'll see you in the next video.